Hi, this is Zach with the Bulletin Board Heroes here at Zach's Traders Cafe for Friday, the 29th of August. Starting off with the FTSE 100, which, while it's below that red resistance line there from May, has the impression, or gives the impression of being in a rising wedge, which is a negative pattern. An end of day close back below the June uptrend line there, 91.80, could risk a move down towards the initial August support and the 50-day moving average towards 90.25. Probably in the next week or two. We can also see there's an RSI support line which has been broken around 56, but it was a strange one. But it is a negative, and therefore one has to be prepared for a potential move to the downside. At the moment, early and end of day close probably really back above 92.20, which was resistance temporarily earlier in the month, would change the idea of a temporary move to the downside and abandoning a move up to 93.50 and that May resistance line projection. Moving on to the DAX, and here we've had a drift of quite a while, and you can see that the drift has resulted in a breakdown below a rising 50-day line there. 24,000 below that, looking for 23,400, the initial August support. That's analogous to what we're saying and thinking about the FTSE 100. Also, RSI now at just under 43, so well below the neutral 50 level. So looking a little bit tired, to say the least. The Dow is next, and here we were celebrating the way that this market was staying above the 45,000 level. That is still the case, which is quite a divergence between this market and the European ones. Above 45,000, 47,600 now, which is a top of the May 2024 rising trend channel. Downside at the moment seen as being no lower than the 50-day line, 44,300. Moving on to the cryptos that we look at. The first one is obviously Bitcoin, and here you can see that we're still assuming that this market will have to test the floor of that rising trend channel that's currently around 108, and above that, we're hoping that we can still make progress within the rising trend channel from March last year up to 133,000. Obviously, at the moment, that feels like it's a long, long way away, especially given the way that the RSI, we've had 3 RSI failures, or 4, in fact, below neutral 50. So that does warn us that 105 in July support and potentially even the 200-day line there at 101 could be on the card. So not a great look at the moment. The other point, I suppose, to think about is the way that one can draw a resistance line there from the middle of the month, and that needs to be broken around 113 to get this market out of jail. One of the theories in the recent past has been that people are switching out of Bitcoin into Ethereum, and it's to be said that at the moment we have to say that Ethereum is outperforming, at least in the near term. The only problem is that we are now breaking that uptrend line, the near-term uptrend line that we've had there around 4,400, and below that there is the risk of a test of the 4,000 area, as well as the 50-day line 39.40. The only thing which is positive at the moment, or anything that's positive, is the way that the RSI is still above neutral 50, having bounced there 3 times so far this month. And while that's the case, then we still have a chance maybe of an intraday revival today or tomorrow for this market back over 4,400. On to gold, and here we've been on the edge of our seats waiting for this market to break 34.10, and that's what it's just done. End of day close through that level. That means that we are actually potentially looking for a move up to 3,800. Presumably that would either be off the back of massive dollar weakness or World War III, or a combination of the two. But at least while we're above 34.10, looking for at least a retest of the best levels ever so far towards 3,500, if not 3,800 somewhere down the line. Moving on to the stocks, and starting off with one of the big successes in terms of prediction here at the Bulletin Board Heroes, which is Aptamer. We were looking for various targets along the way. The first one around 0.5, second one around 0.67, third one around 0.9, and above that we were looking for the area of resistance at the beginning of last year as high as 1.35, 1.4p, which we're now looking for by the end of September. Ideally, we stay on the right side of the penny given that that's been the support area so far today. On full gap to the upside through resistance, a great signal for the shares as well. On to Avacta, where I stood corrected by the greater the good this morning in terms of the interpretation of the RNS. Always got a good bit of a concern that the company will need rather more money than it realizes or states. But in terms of the charting, absolutely spot on. I think I covered the shares yesterday and noted that the shares have now bounced above or bounced at the 200-day line there at 41 pence. That means basically we're in a bull run here. We've got neckline resistance there around current levels 59 pence. And if you look at the distance between the lows there around 25 and let's say we were around 60 pence as the neckline, that 35 pence difference suggests that we've got an inverted head and shoulders here and get up to 95 pence on a measured move. At least initially, though, the obvious place is that above 59, we could get up to the old July resistance at 87 pence by the end of next month. So looking very good on Avacta over and above the uptrend line in the RSI window, and also the way that you can draw a rising trend channel heading towards 74 pence as a near-term target. Ideally, now we stay above recent broken resistance at 52 pence on an end-of-day close basis. So this could be it, both fundamentally and from a charting perspective. On to Afentra, which has not been the world's most incredible stock in the recent past, but what is interesting at the moment, we've got a bull flag either side of the 50-day line at 48 pence. We've got an RSI 50 rebound, and that suggests that we could at least get up to basically 1 year resistance of 55 pence over the next few weeks, which I think will be quite a relief for holders. The other point to note is the way that we've got the 200-day line now rising and the 50-day as well. So that is effectively a golden cross situation. And upside here, while we're above recent support around the mid-40s at least. Onto a stock which I wish I'd covered rather more, especially it's got a cool name, which is ActiveOps. And here we've got a rising trend channel from March. Top of the channel there, heading for, let's say, £2.23. We're looking for that. While we remain above the floor of the channel here at £1.75. So that might be a situation for people to look at, especially given the way that since April, the shares have found support well above the 50-day line on any dips, which tends to be a very strong leading indicator on the upside. On to Conroy, where I said nice things about the company. I think the other day I was looking for a rebound and looking for the upside here as high as 10 pence, which I'm probably looking for that by the end of next month. But as you can see, the shares have done rather well, and it means that we can even give the stock an upgrade in terms of the upside. So looking for the 20 pence area now by the end of next month, by the end of September, maybe even up to 22 pence, on a swift break this week or next week through the 10 pence level, the initial target here. Ideally, the shares stay above, and now the broken resistance around 7.5 pence on an end-of-day close basis. One or two boring stocks in the mix today, and one of them is Dialight. Here you can see the extended ricochet of a rising 50-day line. Also seen the shares break the second target there around 2.05, and above this looking for up to £2.80, which is the upper parallel of the second resistance line target there at 2.05. So hopefully 2.80 as soon as the end of next month, while we're above the 50-day line at £1.96. The other point to note is that we've had an RSI 50 rebound, which is the icing on the cake in terms of potential move to the upside. It was a bit of a long shot in terms of calling up Great Western Mining, given that the company tends to either not go up when you want it to go up or just deliver a placing. But here we've got a rising trend channel base, initial target here 1.3 pence, which we were looking for while we were above the 50-day line at 0.97. Best case by the end of next month up to 1.75 pence, but obviously I think the company does have a habit of delivering fundraisers, and therefore I can't believe that it would resist the opportunity if the shares did go up in that way. I'm trying to look at and see when the last update was, but obviously it's quite a while ago, so maybe we are due for something of that nature. Maybe along to GCM, where I was very excited that the shares could actually go up and stay up through 5 pence. In fact, we had a final dip down to 4 pence, which is rather irritating, but still looking for the shares to get up to 10 pence while they're above the 5 pence area. And I think probably now, second time lucky in terms of such a scenario, hitting 10 hopefully by the end of next month. The call of the week, I think, in terms of difficulty and surprise, has been Hemogenyx. Here, I think, looking at the bulletin board heroes on Wednesday, the shares were around £2.23, £2.24, something like that. Initial target here was 2.30. Best case scenario target at the time was the top of the gap there, around £3. And obviously, since then, we've got an even better target, the old resistance from December 24 up to £4.25, let's call it. In fact, the next target after that would be towards the £5 level, but let's allow the shares to get up to £4.25. What is interesting here, I suppose, is that the market's clearly speculating on some big FDA development or some other approval from the company. Ideally, we stay now on the right side of 360. Whatever happens, that was resistance on the way down. On to ImmuPharma, and here you can see that we're gingerly breaking that resistance line there from back in January. Initial target here, hopefully around 2.6 pence. I'm looking for that by the end of next month. Another RSI 50 rebound situation, which is a little leading indicator on the upside while we're above 1.75 pence. On to the last two. The first one, obviously one of the greatest stocks of the year so far, Mast Energy. And here I think we're up 24x now so far this year, which is not a bad result. Here you can see that we have a final near-term target there towards £2.25, £2.30. Looking for that by the end of next month while we're above the previous target there at £1.40. That was the green line. So I think that was the third or fourth target there that we had for the shares, following that all the way up. Onto a stock which I'd never heard of before, but here it is today, RC Fomax, and here potentially in a falling trend channel base with the bear trap rebound from back below 11 pence, above 11 pence, looking at the top of that falling trend channel at 22 pence, perhaps as soon as the end of next month. That's it for me today. More updates over the weekend.